Greetings everybody and welcome to the Gran Turismo 7 Update 1.57 review. So this goes over the latest March update featuring these three cars, as well as an addition to the Sophie AI and some other interesting additions. So let's dig into it with the first car of the update. That interesting sound comes from the Renault Kangoo 1.4 2001. Now, this car I had never even heard of until all the discussions for the update, and apparently it is huge in Japan as well. So, very interesting vehicle. So let's see what can be done with this thing. As far as wide bodies go, well, you can give it one, although it's barely kind of there. It's not the most obvious of modifications, but that can be done. As far as other parts are concerned, the front end, there's these multiple bumper options here. This sort of interesting splitter thing, as well as this addition here. So those two parts. As for the sides, this plastic panel here can be removed, along with the aerial on the roof. That's an interesting modification. In the rear, again, some of the badges, as well as the little pattern and the rear window wiper. And there's a diffuser you can add as well. So some interesting things there. And as for the rear, the spoiler, or this rear wing I should say. Looks a little familiar, doesn't it? I'm sure some of you will probably know where that's from. As for how it drives, it's a huge surprise for me, considering the kind of vehicle that it is. I was expecting a little bit of lurchiness and maybe something super heavy to try to turn, but it's not. It's actually kind of light. And the car doesn't really have any understeer or oversteer in my hands anyway. So it's actually pretty decent to drive. No dramas here. This interesting sound comes from the Mazda CX-30 Smart Edition from 2021, so an entire 20 years apart from the other model. And of course, this one I'm slightly familiar with, although not this particular variant. Obviously another vehicle like this, so naturally others will complain. But I'm very interested to see what this is like, and more importantly, what can be done to it. So, we look into the wide body. So we'll try that. And again, not much there. You know, there's obviously some bigger plastic molds for that fender there that kind of extend it, but nothing really else, nothing super noticeable. As far as the front end here, interesting little splitter addition to the front. So that can be added to the car there. As far as the sides go, you could remove the SmartX badge, as well as add this little side to the car. As for the rear, again, you can remove the badges and the windshield wiper, interestingly, and have a little diffuser added to it as well. So, you got some interesting stuff. As for the rear, you can add this, as well as get rid of the tinting on the rear windows, and put this rear wing on it as well. So, a lot of interesting additions and modifications that can be done to the rear. And as far as how this drives, this is another pleasant surprise there. You know, again, I was expecting something a little heavy, super heavy at the front, not very much to do on the rear there, but it's kind of surprising. It's actually even a little bit more lively than I was thinking it would be. So the thing drives much more like a sports car than I would have expected there. And again, that's a pleasant surprise there, considering what this is or what it's supposed to be. It's kind of light on its feet, and it kind of makes modifying it an even more interesting prospect. So that's something now I've got to dig into, because I like what I'm seeing so far. That sound there comes from the Aston Martin Vantage from 2018. Now, for those that are wondering, why don't we already have a Vantage? Well, we have a previous generation Vantage, but that one comes from many years ago. This one is from the 2018 one, the current gen. And obviously not a lot of people found this to be quite a looker when it came out there. A racing car is not making that any better. So, while it's not the facelift, it's still something a bit more recent. So, naturally, there goes other questions, such as, well, what can be done to this car? So let's find that out. And as for wide body, well, I hope you like subtleties, because once again, nothing really that notable when it comes to the wide body there. Subtle flares, but that's about it, really. That's all you're getting from this particular wide body. As for the additions, the front here, you can have the splitter from the GT4, both with and without dive planes. So, those are two amazing options for that one. As for the rear, well, a little bit of a diffuser there. Nothing if you want to do the GT4, but if you want to do the GT8, then that's something to consider. And as for this, GT4 rear wing, as well as the custom rear wing if you want to try to imitate the GT8. So, some interesting modifications. And as for how this car drives there, well, unsurprisingly, it being a sports car, it drives pretty darn good there. Although I will say it's a bit more lively than the Vantage we have in the game. That one, it kind of has a feel of it's kind of heavy, and it kind of turns there. This one doesn't feel that way. And in some ways it feels a bit more lively at the rear when you put on the power. Now it could be because this being turbocharged as opposed to the naturally aspirated cars, so suddenly there's a bit more to handle at once than what the other go. But it's not too terrible. You can definitely handle it. If anything, it'll just make you look more spectacular, depending on how you exit corners. And if you like doing power slides and things like that. So, the Sophie edition that I mentioned is Sophie 2.1, as it's been called, now being able to be used in custom race. So any track that's compatible with GT Sophie can be used for custom race with GT Sophie. And it comes with a lot of options to set up just here. Now, I haven't given this a go quite yet. I was doing quite a lot at the time, so I never really got the chance to test it out, the function. But just looking at the settings itself, it's really intriguing. There's a lot more you can do with this than you were able to do previously. So that's going to give people who use custom race a lot more interesting options. And for those who like setting up little races with the AI and stuff, with their fields they have, I think you guys are going to have a field day with this. At least I expect to, when I do my own little thing. And as far as this goes here, we have a new extra menu, this time centered around Suzuki. And it's going to be a little bit more of an expensive thing, because you're going to need at least over 2 million credits to get all 3 of these cars there. Obviously, the Jimny Sierra will be the cheapest, but the other two, well, considerably more. But should you get all 3 of these, you'll complete the menu book, and you'll get a 6-star roulette ticket for an engine. So, hope you like engines. And as for escapes, the Faroe Islands has been added there. And this is a really spectacular set to look at. All these pictures here. And for me, what really stands out for the most part is just the landscape that's seen pretty much in all of these pictures there. Really beautifully captured. I really like what I'm seeing there, and I'm looking at it and already I'm thinking, gosh, I have to go there. So, if this is supposed to be a travel advert, well, I guess there's a little bit of that. And finally, an interesting addition to the used car bit is that when doing the car valuation service, you now have an additional way to search the cars and which ones you want to sell. And that is by the number of cars owned. So you scroll all the way down here, and when you do that, it will show all the cars all the way at the top which have multiple, or duplicates as some might say. So for those who are not too keen on having dupes, you now have a way of seeing which ones you have duplications of. And of course, for those of you who may have multiple cars but don't remember which ones, well, this is a good way for you to sort that out. I know for me, I forgot which ones I have more than one of before I even went to check this feature out, so it comes handy. Overall, a really good update there. I like the 3 cars that we have, the Mazda and the Renault. Very pleasant surprises in terms of driving. And the advantage there, well, I have an additional GT4 build to make, which is going to join my Camaro that I'm also going to be making. The escapes, those look kind of nice there. The Sophie edition, that's really going to make things interesting there. Obviously we got the extra menu book again, a little pricey. And then of course the additional used car feature, that's going to be pretty good for sorting out your cars. Well, if you like this video, enjoy it, and want to see more of these, then you know what to do. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. That's the best way to do things here, and to see more content. So, until next time, I will be seeing you guys in the next video.